Those are the sources, brothers, in which there's ittifaq, there's agreement. In the details, there is khilaf and there are views. But as a whole, these are the adilla ijmaliyah, the general sources of the sharia. Quran, ijma', Quran, sunnah, ijma' and qiyas. But there are other masadir, there are other sources of the sharia over which there is khilaf, difference of opinion. Some have taken them, followed them, others have not. So, for example, you have today's discussion, and this is where it fits in. The subject of masalih mursala, the subject of unrestricted interest, the subject of shar'un min qablina, shar'un lana, ma lam yunsakh. That the law of those before us is a law for us as long as it's not been abrogated. Or for example, the subject of istihsan, juristic preference. Or for example, the subject of urf, custom. Or for example, the subject of madhabu sahabi, and so on and so forth. These are sources of sharia over which there is difference of opinion. And today what we want to discuss is al-masalih mursala, one of the sources of sharia which is mukhtalafun fi, in which there is ikhtilaf, there isn't a clear agreement in this matter. Why do we want to discuss this? What is the fa'idah in discussing this? You see, brothers, the subject of masalih mursala, for those scholars who accepted it, was a subsidiary principle. It was not the main principle of sharia. It came after Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, Qiyas, quite further down the pecking order, so to speak. But in the 19th, 20th century, what's happened is that this principle has found a new following, if you like. It's been given a certain prominence, and certain things have been interpreted which is different from the way things have been interpreted before. And masalih mursala has been used to justify things which actually cannot be justified in the sharia. So for example, the sulh and the peace with the Yahud, those who have occupied Muslim land in Palestine, people have used maslaha as a justification. People have used maslaha as a reason to permit riba, usury, which is forbidden qat'an, definitely in sharia. People have used maslaha to permit the abandonment of the hudud and the suspension of the hudud. And people have used maslaha to allow musharaka fil hukum, to allow ruling by non-Islam with an intention to gradually bring about Islam. People have used maslaha to say it is permitted to be part and member of a secular party. A secular party. So this is why we want to discuss this concept of masalih mursala in view of application, to understand, not as just the academic theory. What is masalih mursala? But it's commonly people say masalih mursala is where there is no text to support maslaha. Let me first define what maslaha is, basically, because we need to go into the details. People say maslaha is public interest, a benefit or an interest which benefits the people. This is what they call maslaha. Masalih is the plural of maslaha, and mursala means mutlaqa, means it's unrestricted by what? By the text, without a nas for it. So there is no verse which prohibits this maslaha, and there is no verse or ayah or hadith or nas text which invalidates or negates this interest. This is how commonly maslaha is understood. That where there is no text for something. So you have a new issue. I can't find a verse for this. I cannot find a hadith for this. Can't find a text or a qiyas or a ijma'. No dalil for this. And therefore I am going to derive a rule based on whatever benefits the people. Based on interest. This, brothers, if we consider, how the ulama, those who use this principle, you find that this type of maslaha was rejected, generally rejected by the ulama. In fact, Ghazali and others, they criticize this type of maslaha, where you say there is no text whatsoever, no dalil whatsoever. So you just judge from the mind that this is the benefit. Ghazali, he said that فَمَنِ اسْتَصْلَحَ فَقَدْ شَرَّعَ. The one who makes istislah. See, istislah is the practice of, is the derivation of maslaha. It's the process. So he said the one who makes istislah, who says this is maslaha, faqad sharra, he is legislating. And what he means by that, of course, because in our deen, the whole point of usoolu fiqh is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the legislator. Man is not the legislator. So he's criticizing those who take maslaha in this unrestricted way. He said the one who makes istislah like this and say maslaha, faqad sharra, he is legislating. Imam Shafi'i, when he was discussing the subject of istihsan, juristic preference, he said فَمَنِ اسْتَحْسَنَ فَقَدْ شَرَّعَ. The one who makes istihsan, he is legislating. And this subject of maslaha is part within the subject of istihsan. It is legislating. So that is not, the maslaha that we are talking about. What is the subject of maslaha? See, brothers, it is not possible that the Quran and Sunnah can be silent over a matter. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. The deen is complete. The deen must say something about this matter. But what happened, the ulama, when they looked at new issues, and this is with those, remember, not everyone took masalih mursala, but for those who use this principle, they said, look, we have issues where we can't find a clear nas from the Quran, a detailed juz'i nas, a verse from the Quran, a hadith, or a qiyas, or ijma'. What do? We can't, we need to derive a rule. Everything must come under the ambit of Sharia. It is impossible that we have something which is, Sharia is maskut anhu. Yeah, Sharia is silent over this. In fact, we will discuss later, our ulama have they have a category for the things which, that there is nothing from the Sharia. And this is mustahil. This is actually impossible to have. So, what did they do? They said, well, look, if we make istiqra, we make an inductive study of the Sharia, the rules, the ahkam in its totality, we find that the Sharia is seeking certain aims, certain goals. For example, it is seeking the preservation of life. When, the Quran, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاء, when it gives the law of equal retribution, so it's seeking the protection of life. It's seeking the protection of the mind. When it prohibits alcohol, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسُرُ, and so on and so forth. It is seeking the protection of honor. Some added that actually at the end.